Queelign's Greatsword is a beautiful weapon in, of course, the heavy thrusting sword class. With its innate fire damage, we can boost up our faith and make a fiery thrusting and casting build. Obtaining this weapon is kinda complicated. We have to defeat Queelign at 2 of his invasion locations. The first is going to be in Bellarat. Head up the stairs from the makeshift altar site of Grace and take a right. He will be in the courtyard around all the trash mobs. The second invasion is in the Church of the Crusade in Shadow Altus. After that, you'll find him in the locked prayer room in the church district, where if you give him an Iris of Occultation, he will drop you the sword. An easy eye of Occultation can be found in Fort Reprimand, dropped by the Omen Killer in the basement. With this weapon, we will be using the one-handed moveset. Being a heavy thrusting sword, this weapon has great reach and solid poise damage, along with a relatively fast moveset. You can repeatedly poke your enemies with the light attacks, or deal out some poise damage with those charged heavy lunges. This sword has split physical and fire damage, and on flame art scaling, we can greatly increase that fire damage with our faith. Dealing mostly fire damage makes us effective against many enemies, but it also means we deal less damage in rain, standing water, and of course, highly reduced damage to Mesmer and Moog. So I hope you're good at these fights. The Ash of War of the week is Flame Skewer. It is a hard-hitting Ash with the same animation as Giant Hunt, with a bit less knockback power. While it lacks some of that power, this Ash of War will buff your weapon with Mesmer Flame for a time after you cast it. The move also has a flame-throwing follow-up after the Ash, which is great for stacking up damage in larger attack windows. This is a Faith build, so we will be using a lot of spells. First off is Golden Vow for 15% more damage and 10% more damage negation. Flame Grant Me Strength for 20% more physical and fire damage, along with a bit better stamina regen. Catch Flame is a quick incantation, purpose-made for bursting down enemies with fire weakness, such as the Erdtree avatars or Radigan. Fire Serpent is our ranged attack. It doesn't go as far as you think it would from the enemies casting it. However, the tracking is immaculate. Use this to keep enemy poise down at range. Finally, there's Mesmer's Orb. I only use this a couple times throughout the playthrough, as it doesn't really have hyper armor, but it deals a ton of damage, and if you can stagger your enemy on impact, that explosion will do a number on them. For our playstyle, start off with a Flask, then Golden Vow, then Flame Grant Me Strength. Open with an Ash of War for poise damage with a fire buff. Catch Flame to those weak to fire, as it will simply shred their HP. Later in the fight, you can use Fire Serpent with its tracking, keeping that poise in check, or finishing off an enemy with low health. If you can stagger them or have a massive attack window, come in from the top rope with Mesmer's Orb. I did a poll a few days ago for heavy thrusting swords about which ones you all preferred, and Queelign's Greatsword lost. The Bloody Helix won, but I've already used that weapon, so Queelign's Greatsword was going to be used no matter what this time. One thing I do like about Queelign's Greatsword over the other ones is the way it looks. So my question for you all this week is, what is the best looking weapon in Elden Ring? I usually have an answer for this, but not quite this week. I want to say the Darkmoon Greatsword, but that is most likely my pro-Ranni bias coming out, as I just married her for the 194th time this week. So do let me know which weapon you think is the most beautiful. And as always, for more build and Souls-like videos like this, every Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, be sure to like and subscribe to TheJerseySide. Our talismans for the build were the Dragon Crest Great Shield for 20% more physical damage negation, the Two-Headed Turtle Talisman for better stamina regeneration, the Shard of Alexander for 15% more damage with Flame Skewer, and the Spear Talisman for better counterattack damage. The thing is, counterattack damage only works for physical, and since this was a Flame Art and Faith build, we did mostly fire damage. So I would replace this talisman with the Old Lord's Talisman. This gives us better duration on our incantations. So Golden Vow and the very welcome Flame Grant Me Strength will last for a greater duration, yielding a much better damage buff than the Spear Talisman. Our tiers for the build were the Fire Shroud and Crack tier for 20% more fire damage, and the Opaline Hard tier for 15% more damage negation. Our stats at RL 170 are 60 Vigor, 26 Mind for the Incantations and Ash of War, 35 Endurance, 14 Strength, 18 Dexterity, and 80 Faith. since our weapon fire damage and our incantations scale off this stat. Queelign's Greatsword is a pretty sword, and it isn't the most beloved heavy thrusting sword in the game based on the poll I ran, but that doesn't mean you still shouldn't give it a try, especially those who love to play with fire. Now, 2 things before we go. First off, Merry Christmas everyone, I hope you had a wonderful holiday. And second off, I've been getting a lot of comments recently about the rune count I have on my character. Apparently, some people get really nervous when you run around with over 200 million runes on Max New Game Plus. So allow me to end this video by pointing out I have over 225 million runes fighting Max New Game Plus Promised Consort. I mean, I can't really say that I care. I don't have anything remaining to spend the runes on, and at the end of the day, it's just money.